Hi friends, it's your buddy Captain Ted coming to you again here from beautiful Waikiki Beach, Hawaii. Right here by the slopes of Diamond Head on the island of Oahu. But I've determined now I'm actually going to start calling it what it is. It's spiritual Babylon. Yeah, we're here trapped in spiritual Babylon. Not just me, but all of you too, watching me. Our country, United States, has become nothing but wickedness and full of evil and corruption. And just like Israel was captive in Babylon 70 years, we're captive now in our country that used to be free, United States of America. We're 70 days now in captivity. But I'm not going to beat on that drum today. I want to share with you a few things because I woke up this morning, I was very disturbed. I was angry, I guess you could say. So I went out and I walked around the block, and I didn't wear a mask. And, well, on top of it, there's pollen in the air or something here, which bothers my nose, so I started sneezing. And when you start sneezing in the park out here, and when you have no mask, people start looking at you really unpleasantly, and then they start crossing the street and going the other way and all of that. And well, I can't say I blame them, but I mean, that's what this has come to. So anyway, I had my walk, and I was very still and settled, so I thought, well, I better go home and pray about this and write some things down. And so now I'm here in front of you, my audience, my friends, with the rundown on things here as I see them, and I think you see them. And I think the biggest problem for a lot of us is, we're spending too much time here at home because we're told we have to do that for the good of humanity. But it's not doing us any good. It's hurting us. Our economy is going down the tubes. We're heading for the waterfall of Niagara Falls, like we're in a rowboat, our country in a rowboat heading for Niagara Falls. And we're about to go over the edge. And yet everybody's asleep and don't care, and everybody's just happy with their stimulus check of $1,200 while we borrowed $6 trillion. Our country just did that. I put it on your tab, your credit card. Friend told me that that's $80,000 charged to every man, woman, and child in America. But don't worry, you got $1,200. Some. I didn't get it. I don't know why I didn't get it. My wife, but she didn't get it. I don't know. People I know didn't get it. But $1,200 versus you billed for $80,000 that you have to pay your grandchildren, their grandchildren. I mean, it's not a good deal. So I'm here to say a few things, and one thing I want to talk about is my profound disappointment at a squandered opportunity. And I'm talking about yesterday. I watched a program, one of these internet TV programs, and there was a so-called roundtable discussion, and I'm not going to throw any names, but I was expecting a lot, and I was really disappointed because in the end, they were supposed to talk about something that mattered, the Constitution, the color of law, the election coming up, maybe. Maybe people would want to talk about the election coming up. That wasn't even mentioned. And so that's why I'm here. I want to say somebody needs to talk about something that matters besides face masks and baseball games without fans in the audience and all this other stuff. Well, yeah, that matters, but it's not going to matter when our government is stolen from us by the socialists, and that's happening now. I'm sorry, it's happening now, today, every day. I'm seeing the news, messages, whatever, State legislators are passing laws for vote by mail. Vote by mail for the election, presidential election coming up in November. Vote by mail. Wow, yeah, because that's, discriminating against a lot of people by making them show up in person, to show a photo ID to prove they're a citizen. When this is the most sacred right of a citizen, this is the most important thing for a citizen to vote for who's going to lead their country. And it's a madness, and I can't be quiet anymore. Vote by mail is fraud. It's an open invitation for fraud. We all know that, to steal an election. And, they say, well, there's no real evidence of any significant fraud. Well, I'm sorry, but, one false vote is too much. All right, how about zero tolerance for voter fraud? How about that? A citizen is supposed to have some rights to being a citizen other than paying income tax and working to death and everything being legislated to death over us. But the voting is the most important right of a citizen. I mean, according to these other liberals, I guess there's no benefit to being a citizen. I mean, I'd like to ask one, what is the difference with the illegals and the citizen? What is the difference? They both can vote now, get money, drive cars, get driver's license. So I don't want to go into that, but I just want to say I was profoundly disappointed at the lack of any kind of urgency or cognizance of what is really going on in our country. But this program I watched for 2 hours, they BS'd and ended up being a commercial for selling a man's books, is what it turned out to be. And I'm sorry, but I had enough of being disappointed by that. And I just want to say, it reminded me of an event in the Bible, the money changers in the temple. Jesus made the scourge of ropes and got angry and drove out the money changers from the temple and turned over the tables and let the animals free and whipped people. I mean, this is definitely politically incorrect, but nobody stopped him. This is amazing. And the meek and mild Jesus you see on the calendars, the barber shop or, grandma's parlor, that's not the real Jesus. He was a man, and he was outraged. He said, "You've taken my Father's house and made it a den of thieves." That's pretty strong, but the money changers are back. They're back, and they're in the temple, and they're in the churches, they're in the TV shows, supposed Christian and supposed truth and all this, but the money changers are back. And they're selling their books, they're selling their potions, they're selling their magic water, they're selling their videos and tapes. I'm reminded of a powerful film that came out in the early 1970s about the Vietnam War. You probably remember that film too. It's called Apocalypse Now. And everybody talking apocalypse. Well, I mean, everybody's using the word wrong, but I won't say right now, I'll get into that. But Apocalypse Now, the opening sequence, remember that film where the hero, protagonist, the soldier, he wakes up in the hotel room and he says, "Saigon, I'm still in Saigon." And he starts talking to himself. You can hear his voiceover while he's doing martial arts and exercising and trying to loosen his body, because he's a fighter, he's a warrior. And then he says the most profound thing. He says, "Every day I sit in here, I get weaker and weaker every day by the minute, while Charlie is out in the jungle. And Charlie's sitting out there eating cold rice and rat meat, but he's getting stronger every day while he squats out in the jungle. And I'm getting weaker every day sitting here." Well, this is the reality. This is exactly the reality This is what's happening to us, America. Every day we sitting here at home like potatoes on the couch, we getting weaker. And you know what? The enemy out there, our enemies are getting stronger. They're not shut down. They're not locked down. They're open for business, and they're making the most out of this. So I ask you the question, why is it all right for them to open up? Why can they be back in business? Why can they do everything and we can't? Hey, we're America, aren't we? We're supposed to be the guys that have the innovation. And I'm not talking about this voodoo science of making this magic potion that they're going to inject in us and fix us, and everything going to be great, and our DNA will be altered, and we're going to have a microchip. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, how about just having the guts to put on our boots and pull up our pants and go on out and go back to work and go about our life. You know, that they can't actually stop us. They can't. I mean, I'll back it up, all right? I'm not just making a rant. I'm saying that the Constitution of the United States, you know, it is the supreme law of the land, supposedly. Well, it's supposed to be here. But it says in the First Amendment that Congress shall make no law, you know, infringing or prohibiting the free exercise of religion. That's the first part, and it goes on, you know, freedom of speech, freedom of press, freedom of assembly, freedom to petition the government for redress of wrongs. All of these are one sentence. They're one sentence. It's not complicated. And I heard this lawyer, big shot lawyer, he was on a show here from Hawaii, and he was telling us that, you know, that this is actually that the way we fools, we simpleton people that just read the Constitution and believe it means what it says. When it says freedom of religion, he says he calls that playground Constitution. That's a playground Constitution. We lawyers, we chuckle and pat them on the head. The foolish people think that it means what it says. We know that there's the true meaning of the Constitution, and the true meaning, you know what he says the true meaning is? It's what the judges say it is. It's what the ruling, the case law, the case rule, Marbury versus Madison, black versus white, you know, all these rulings that they decided, well, this is where the case law actually is the real way that we interpret the Constitution, not you simpleton people. You know, you just playground Constitution people, and I'm offended by that, all right? I'm offended by it, and I'm not going to let him put me down or tell me that I can't use my brain. I'm going to push it and say it does mean what it says. And then also there's another thing that I found, and that was by a friend here in Hawaii, and he knew a man, and his name was Aaron Ardeas. Aaron Ardeas. God bless him. He's passed away now, but he's the guy that he did believe the Constitution meant what he said. He believed the Bible means what it says, and he lived by it. And he went into court. He was not an attorney, by the way. That's probably a good thing. But he would go into court, and the judges knew him, and they were scared of him because he challenged them. And I actually have an eyewitness that was in the court with him one day, and Aaron would not come through the gate there where you go, you know, that comes down where the people are separated from the lawyers and the bench and the judge. He wouldn't come in, the bar they call it, past the bar, because when you pass the bar, it's a matter of legal territory, then you are putting yourself under the judge's, you know, power. He wouldn't come in. And the judge looked at him and he said, "Does the flag offend you?" And he had the flag that you see all the time in a courtroom, American flag, was a federal court, or I don't know, state, I guess in this case, but anyway, the flag had the gold fringe and the eagle on top, had 50 stars. Well, there's some meaning to all of this, and I'm not going to go into all of it right now, but there's something important about it. So anyway, he said, does the flag offend you? And Aaron said, yes, Your Honor. And the judge said something, eyewitness told me. The judge said, I'm sorry, I don't have a 48-star flag available. A 48-star flag? What do you mean a 48-star flag? Well, this was the whole case where Aaron was fighting this case in Hawaii to state that Alaska and Hawaii are not true states, are not legitimate states. And there's a big muckety-muck commotion about that, and that was going on in the 70s when I first came to Hawaii. It was a big, huge uproar, and I don't know what happened, but they pushed it all under the rug, and they kept the 50-star flag. But in reality, it's probably true. It's probably they are not legally, by the official way, made into state. Apparently Eisenhower pushed them through because of the Cold War or whatever, and he didn't go through the legal steps of Congress to legally bring them in. So the flag is really, and the judge knew it. The judge knew it. It's supposed to be 48 stars, not 50. It's not supposed to have the gold fringe and the eagle. That's maritime law. Maritime law is not our law of the land. Maritime is law of the sea, where the captain can do anything. His word is law. I was an airplane captain, and nobody told me that. My word is law. I had to fight the flight attendant just to get a piece of chicken or something to eat, but in the ship, the captain, his word is law. So maritime law is based on all that law of the sea. Well, that is not supposed to be our law, so I'm not going to go into that. But the flag offended Aaron, and the judge knew it. And the judge said he was sorry he couldn't give him the true flag. Well, hallelujah. What about then our Constitution? Is that the true law of the land? Yeah, I think it is. It still is. But there's another little thing that Aaron started bringing up, and that's this phrase, color of law. And that was him. Because of him, I started passing it along, and I passed it to some other people, another man that's writing these books, and everybody's making celebrities out of them, but the color of law is a really important thing, and Aaron knew that. And I just want to share it with you that may not have heard, but a color of law is basically saying that if a governor, mayor, whoever, justice of the peace, whatever, they try to arrest you, imprison you, or restrict you by claiming that their edict, their proclamation, or whatever they made up, saying it is a law when it's not a legal law, that's called color of law. That means it's counterfeit, counterfeit. It has a look, a semblance of law, but it's not law. It's not legal. It's not passed by the state legislature. It's not in accordance with the Constitution of the United States. It's not law. And it just has the color, the semblance. It's counterfeit law. It's fake. It's the fake law. But if he uses that and uses your ignorance and arrests you, imprisons you, deprives you of your job, your work, your ability to go to church. Does this sound familiar to anybody? If you stop doing it and agree with him, then if after a while they say, well, they agreed, they consented. They consented, so it is legal. Well, I'm telling you, we got to quit consenting. The church has got to get back to meeting. The church has to be the church. And if there's anything that's clear in the Constitution, that Congress shall make no law establishing religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. I think that's a pretty good quote of it, verbatim. Well, Congress can't do it. So your governor can't do it. By the way, Congress, Article 1, Section 1 of the Constitution starts out saying only Congress can make laws. The president can't make laws. Executive orders are not laws. The Supreme Court can't make laws. The county judge can't make laws. But they're doing it. This is color of law. It's counterfeit. It looks like law, kind of tastes like law, it smells, but it's not law. It's fake. And so, by the federal criminal code, the Justice Department has a website. You can look this up. Title 18, Section 242, Deprivation of Rights by Color of Law, makes it a criminal crime for them to do this. And if they cause you harm, injury, or resulting in death, they are criminally liable. Okay, Mr. Governor, are you listening to me? Mr. Mayor, there's limits to your power, believe it or not. You know, I don't know what you smoking or drinking or whatever, but you're not God. I mean, there's only one God, and by the way, His Word, the Bible, is true. The Ten Commandments are true. So why don't we get back? You know, let's get back to the Constitution, the Ten Commandments, all that old-fashioned stuff, you know, that it really works quite good. So, yeah, they are criminally liable, and when we start pushing back, if we're going to do it, we better start now. Because if you don't open the churches, pastors, I'm talking to you, you know, I want to remind you of something a man of God used to say, Dr. Ed Cole. I don't know if anybody ever remember. I remember him. I was greatly impacted, and I actually was a friend of his. Maximize manhood in the 1980s, ministry to men. Ed Cole used to say that silence is golden, but sometimes it's just plain yellow. Okay, guys, I hope you hear that, pastors out there. You have the law, you have the prophets, you have the Constitution behind you. Just go open your church. Get your people out there and start preaching the Word of God. You know, and let's get over this. Let's get real, because if we don't do it, we're gone. We're in the rowboat heading to Niagara Falls, and everybody's whistling Dixie and talking about what a beautiful ride it is and how beautiful the day is. But they're not looking, and I'm told there's a rope or something across the Niagara Falls they call the point of no return. Once you go past that, you ain't stopping, you're going over. And we're ready to go over. You know, debt, financially, we're going over. And first, though, it's a race to see what's going to be first. Can the voters cheat enough with the vote by mail that you can't certify it? There's no way to validate it. So if you can't prove that the people are citizens, then it should not be valid. It can't be valid. We can't accept that. Well, vote by mail ain't going to work. So, all right, we want to go over Niagara Falls in the rowboat, either with fake votes to go into socialist communism, 9th anniversary of the beginning of the Battle of CRETE. And it was a solemn day for me. And I spent 14 hours actually at home working on a video as a tribute to my mother, who was there, who suffered through the Battle of CRETE, 15-year-old girl. My grandfather, Theodore Stratodike, Colonel Theodore, he was killed the first day, May 20th, 1941. He was killed by a Stuka dive bomber that dropped a bomb on the headquarters in Hanya, where he and the general and all the staff were. He died. My mother had to go after the war back and go and try to find his body. They just buried everybody where they lay, and she was 18, 19, 20 years old at the end of the war. She had to go, and they gave her a soldier and went and dug around, and they found her father's body. And she knew it was him because there was a wallet with 2 tiny gold earrings in it. Those were supposed to be her earrings. So she had to go take her father's bones, body, whatever. 20-year-old girl, after 4 years of horror living under the Nazi occupation, and go and bury him, and she did it. But in his honor, I worked to do this tribute for him, and I'm going to put this out. And also I wrote a song for him and my mother called Freedom or Death, about the Battle of CRETE. Freedom or death. Yeah, how about that? Does that ring with anybody? Truth today? But they faced an onslaught of 20,000 troops, German troops. But the first few days, it was paratroopers out of the sky from the air. Parachute invasion. It was actually the first and the largest parachute invasion of history. This book here is quite good. It talks about it, but you can see the parachutes coming down. But they dropped a massive drop of parachutists, and these were tough, rough, tough fighting boys. These were the meanest, toughest, strongest Nazis that they could find. And I'm not trying to bring up something for the German people. They're nice people. I love them. I have many German friends. And it's not about that. It's about what happens when tyranny comes. And when it comes fast. They came fast. They came unannounced. They came out of the sky in parachutes. And my mother said they were in the caves up there in the mountains. She and the women, they were taken there to hide them. And the women said, look at the umbrellas coming down, the parachutes. They'd never seen a parachute. And the soldiers looked like dolls to them. They were so tiny, but they weren't dolls. And they came with machine guns and bazookas and flamethrowers, and the battle started, and it was a fight. And the Greeks fought, the British were there, they fought, the Australians fought, the New Zealanders fought. They were all there on that island of Crete. And for 10 days they fought, but they lost. They lost. And I'm telling you, you don't want to lose. You don't want to find out what happens when you lose. All right? We're in a fight right now. We don't want to lose. We can't afford to lose it. We're going to lose our country, folks. We don't wake up, put on our pants and go out and go back to church, go back to work, and tell them, I'm not staying home. I have the law. I have the color of law. The federal code says you cannot do this to me. The Constitution says you cannot do this to me. And my Bible says you cannot do this to me. I'm a free human being, living human being. So why don't we do it? Why don't we do it? I'm here. I'm in Hawaii. I'm putting the message down below. I'm putting the link where you can contact me. I'll be glad to talk with you, assist you in Hawaii. I mean, everything is local, all right? I want to remind you, we don't have a king, all right? We're not from the top down like all the other countries. We're from the bottom up still. We have local government, you have city government, state government, you know, and then you get up to the federal government. So it has to start with you in your home locally, but you go to your state representatives, call them, email them, whatever, and ask them about this color of law that this guy on the internet was talking about. I'll say it again, Title 18, Section 242, deprivation of rights by color of law. It's in the Federal Criminal Statute Code. And then the First Amendment to the Constitution, you can look that up on your Funkin' Wagnall and read the First Amendment. It's very clear. It's not a playground thing for foolish children. It's real. So please join with me. You know, let's pray for our country. Yeah, there's a time for prayer, but then there's a time to get up and go do something. And you know, yesterday while I was working on my tribute there to my grandfather and my mother, I was holding his sword. My mother somehow recovered his sword, officer's dress sword. It's on the counter right behind me. But I was holding that sword, and I started to weep, actually, you know, thinking about what it would have been like to have known my grandfather, what it would have been like to have gotten to be with him and hear him to teach me some things, what it was to be a man. He fought in the Balkan War. He was a professional soldier. He was a rough, tough guy, but I never knew him. What it would have been like if my mother didn't have to suffer with the 4 years of the horror of the Nazi occupation of Crete. They lined up whole villages and shot them. Yeah, men and women and children. They shot them. They murdered them. If they caught you trying to help some escaped soldier, they would shoot you. And they did it. And I just want to close with this one statement. you know, you can sit at home and you can say, well, what can I do? But you know what? When the Nazis come for you, and they will come if we don't do something, to throw you down. Now they're claiming, the president says he wants the military to help and assist with the vaccine. Well, when they come, they don't come with you know, a bunch of lawyers and cameramen and all of this. They come in the middle of the night, or they come when they come. They kick down your door, and they have the guns, they have the dogs, they have the whatever. But you know what they don't have? They don't bring their reading glasses, you know, so you can go and say, well, let me tell you about my, you know, Title 18 color of law. You're in violation of the Constitution and, you know, all of these things, my books. Wait just a minute. Let me get all of these papers. You have to read. They don't come with their reading glasses, all right? They came with the parachutes. Bang, they were there. They hit the ground running, shooting, and killing. So you want to wait and see what happens. You're going to find out what happens. I'm sorry. You're going to find out. In the meantime, why don't you look up on YouTube, just go right now and look up Battle of Crete, 1941. Go on YouTube and look at a couple of those clips. Look at that and see what happens, all right? What happens when you sit around and you don't do nothing? But the last thing I want to say today, the last thing will be the last thing, but the Cretans were told to turn in their guns, by the way. Their government had confiscated all the guns from the people. And the Cretans said, no, we've been under the Turks for 400 years, and you know, we know what life misery is. We're not giving our guns. So they went and hid their guns. I'm not saying anybody to be breaking any law, don't get me wrong. But this is what they did. They hid their guns, and when they saw this coming, they ran and got the guns, and they used them, and they fought like hell. They fought. Mainly it was 3 days, maybe 5 days, but for 3 days it was going back and forth, and they could have won. They should have won. But they had faulty leadership. The British general, Freyberg, he was weak, he was indecisive, he made terrible tactical blunders. They had 40,000+ men. The Germans came with 10,000 men and beat them. Well, I'm telling you, we got more men too in America that believe like I do. I believe that. But if we don't do nothing, and if we rely on weak leadership, which we got, I'm sorry, very unstable, very ungood, not clear on the orders. You don't know one day to the next what the orders are. Well, that's not going to work. Communication is not good. Communication needs to be two ways. It needs to be between us. And that's why they don't want us going to the bar. They don't want us going to the restaurant, because that's where the men get together and talk, and the women. And that's where the independence war started, in the tavern. So they're not going to let us have it. They're not going to give it up. You got to go and take it. And Mr. Businessman, if you have a tavern or a restaurant or anything, go open it up, because they have no legal right to stop you. The Constitution says it, and then the article, Title 18, Article 242, color of law. Thanks, I appreciate it. God bless you. Let's keep in touch. Aloha. Peace.